Eugene is introduced to the sanctuary, and it's not quite what he expected it to be. Dwight faces a trial of conscience, and the next new rage in the apocalypse appears to be the Armored Walker. It's The Walking Dead, Season 7, Episode 11, Hostiles and Calamities. Hey everyone, D here, and welcome to this week's review of The Walking Dead. So, of course, there are spoilers ahead, and we're getting right to it. Alright, so we are at the sanctuary this week, and we get kind of a two-pronged story going on. We have, of course, the introduction of Eugene into the sanctuary, and then we have Dwight, who may be on his way out. Kind of a little paralleled opposite adventures going on with the two of these. And it's nice, at least on Dwight's side, as we get to get a little bit more insight. Of course, we are starting to feel a little more sympathetic with him. But we'll get to that in just a minute. We're going to start things off with Eugene's intro. And of course, coming in, of course he's scared. He's with Negan, he's with the Saviors. Their last introduction, according to Negan, did not go so good. And as he just left, we have, of course, Spencer getting gutted and Rosita having to turn him in for making the bullet that almost took out Negan, but not quite. So, of course, he's terrified. And I love that moment that he's being brought into the room. And he's just, no. It's just a really nice room with a stocked fridge. And people are offering him food. Yes, he made a bullet. Yes, it almost took out Negan, but that means he might have something to offer. And as we know from Negan and the rest of the Saviors, if you are valuable, if you have something to offer, you can make it far. So Eugene gets his big intro to the Saviors, treated much better, certainly than Daryl was, but as long as he can prove his worth. And this we get to see, of course, the survival instincts of Eugene really at play. That one scene between him and Negan at the very beginning, when he's just carrying that jar of pickles, was perfect. Because, of course, it gives the fear that Eugene is feeling. It has the power that Negan is showing, and, of course, the opportunities that are presenting himself. And this gives Eugene's survival instincts a chance to really kick in beautifully with just falling right into his CDC story. It is rehearsed. He has told it enough times. It is something he can convincingly play and, well, has convincingly played and thus can continue to do so. So he's showing himself his value. And that led us to that wonderful scene with the rest of the wives. Love the video game playing. That's very Eugene. I love the fact that he gets challenged and pros out that, no, I can make explosives with common household items. Sure, this is something Eugene can come up, and they're all very excited. But it was a really fun, and I loved his whole presentation with the vinegar and everything, and shooting up the big flame before he set off the explosives. Or, I mean, it's just little hydrogen balloons, just nice little bangs. Simple chemistry. But again, showing his value. So this is Eugene getting into his own sort of a survival mode. Yes, he could be battling, he could be putting up the front, but that's not Eugene's character. As he tells the girls later on when their poor plan to get him to make a poison for Negan, 2 pills. Oh, we need 2 pills. Why do you need 2 pills for one person? The minute she said that, we knew something else was wrong. At least that's where I picked things up, and I am glad that, of course, Eugene is smart enough to figure that out as well. But his response to them is, he's a coward. Of course he's a coward. That's his survival. He latches on to strong people. He says what needs to be said in order to survive. That's how he survived with Abraham. And it's not much of a challenge for him to slip into that mode here with the Saviors. Now the question could be asked, and I think that's important, is how much has Eugene now dedicated himself to the Saviors? And I think it is just far enough to stay alive. I don't think I think Eugene is smart enough to see exactly the predicament that he is in, that it is only his intelligence and his usefulness that is going to keep him alive, which is why he was able to stand up to the girls with that. And in fact, his ability to sort of muster up his positive charisma there and sort of stand for things when he was able to get all of the meds. And of course, his cute little stuffed animal, I love that thing, just sticking around with him, is, evident of his convincing himself into this role, of his dedication to his performance with the CDC lie. But that's all that this is. This is just getting him far enough to stay in the good graces. He knows he can read which way the wind is blowing, which is why when Negan does come in and offer, I just want to hear the one thing, and he doesn't even let him out. And that's the great thing about Eugene. He is dedicated. He doesn't even let him finish before, I am Negan. I'm 100% Negan. I was Negan before I even met you. I just needed to meet you to know that I was you. I mean, that was such a perfect Eugene response to things. So he is there and he is dedicated how long it is in order to keep him alive. Now, I am hoping that his plans and his contributions will always have a little bit of wiggle room, a little bit of a back door there. His idea to cast the walkers in molten metal, I love that. We just saw the armored walker last week, and now we get to see sort of the molten form of it. I love these ideas. And then, of course, cover the head, keep that protection. That's going to work, and it's going to keep him in place. It still might cook the walker within it. That may not be helpful. But even with this, I'm hoping that Eugene does have some sort of backdoor, some sort of idea. Also, question was, could Eugene have given the pills, and could the girls have killed Negan? There wasn't much of a success. I think after the whole doctor shebang went down, he could see that if the girls are needing him to come up with a pill in order to kill Negan, if it doesn't work, it is going to come back on him. If the girls wanted to kill Negan, there's several of them. They could tack him in his sleep, hold him down, do something. I'm sure they could come up with something if they wanted to. It is fear that is holding them back, but that's exactly why their attempt would fail, and that would come back on Eugene. So I think he was smart with that. I think he knows the danger that he is in, and he's not going to take any chances unless he knows that escape is possible, that there is an actual plan and guarantee on the other end. And that might wait until Rick and the rest of the company come in. He may be stuck in there all the way up until he was actually rescued, at which point he will more than happy go back with the group. There he belongs without having to be afraid, and here it's all about being afraid. And then on the other side of the story, we have Dwight, who, of course, gets blamed for Daryl's escape. Of course, he was his watcher. He was supposed to be turning him. And as Negan throws out back, my concern is, have you been turned? In turning to him, has he turned you? Really, in this, we get to see, we find out that it was Sherry that let Daryl out. So that's good that we finally get that information done and clear out of the way. But really with this, we are getting a bit more insight into Dwight and his relationship, and the costs of being at the sanctuary draws out. Very touching scene back at the cabin when he goes or shows up looking for Sherry and finds the note. And the big discussion of this, they were together before the apocalypse. It's cute. This was their place. They had their little picture and everything. But we get to hear, I guess Dwight's not so good with his memory, has some memory problems. But really just their story of how when they got into it, she made the sacrifice in order to keep them alive, and now realizing that being alive is not necessarily, being in the sanctuary is not better than being dead. There is so much that you have to give up. There is so much that you have to do. As Sherry says in her note to Dwight, you didn't have to kill anybody. Before you were kind of innocent. You've had to kill somebody now. You've had to kill people. You've become what you didn't want to be. And she blames herself. And ultimately, this is just, we are getting the motivation. Sherry had to leave. She had to go. And I think main reason being with that is Dwight, in order to survive, couldn't have anything else holding him back, tying him down. He was dedicated to the sanctuary because it was protection for Sherry. If Sherry is gone, then Dwight is free to make whatever choice he sees as best for him. She didn't know if he was too much in Negan's thrall. He has been dedicated. He gave up his wife. I mean, the sacrifices that has made. How is she not to know that Dwight, who, because of memory issues, might be a bit more malleable in his shifting of positions and his self-identity? Would he go with her, or would he kill her, or would he drag her back? I think that's a fair question. I think seeing what the sanctuary, what being Negan does to people and forces them to change, I think that was a fair enough question. So the best answer for her, of course, would be to just be gone, to say goodbye, and to give Dwight those chances to make those decisions by himself. I did think it was really cute, though, but despite the fact of forgetting things and memory issues and so on, he did bring the beer and pretzels, which is how she opened up her discussion. This used to be to come back and you would always meet here and bring beer and pretzels. So he hasn't forgotten everything. And even that moment of holding that pack of cigarettes, yes, it's got his ring in there, but also has a cigarette that she smoked, still has her lipstick on it, her little taste. That's one thing that he is hiding up in that fish, just that connection. It's with everything that's been taken, that is the one tentative connection that he can maintain with Sherry is it's heartwarming in some sense, but also just so painful that is really all that he has, and has to make that sacrifice to say that she is gone, to give her the chance to get away, and to give himself the chance to perhaps make some different decisions. And then just covers his tracks by blaming the doctor, which I'm fine with because that doctor has the worst bedside manner possible. Very not empathetic. Okay, well, you got to make these choices and kill people. That's the way that we live. I mean, maybe in some ways as a sign of what happens to people, maybe he was a fine individual, but now has recognized that empathy and compassion at the sanctuary is not the way to survive. Certainly is more than willing to kowtow to Negan. As soon as he is threatened, he is willing to say anything to keep himself protected. But he was going to be burned one way or the other. Wasn't the iron, was the actual flames, which I thought was kind of a waste. I thought that they would just pour the metal on him and make him like the first armored walker, sort of a test subject. I thought that would have been a bit more efficient use of bodies. But anyway, that's it. But why did he do that? He's covering up his tracks. I also think that he wasn't too happy with the doctor. It keeps Trish free, and the doctor seems the only one that has an idea that maybe, one, that Trish was behind everything, but two, but also was definitely behind everything, but two, I think suspected that maybe Dwight's story about her getting killed may not have been totally true. He did seem to be observant doctor, just not compassionate. And now they're kind of in a bit of a pickle because Eugene is not that type of doctor. Just because you're a doctor doesn't make you a medical doctor. People always make that mistake. I think he's going to find out that maybe being in the CDC and being a kind of engineering doctor does not let you know how to take care of the body. That's going to be very sad when he gets pulled into the doctor's office the first time. And then, of course, the last scene where we have Eugene and Dwight kind of coming back together. And sort of just a quick little let's move forward. Yeah, sure, last time we met there was a little bit of chomping in the... Yeah, let's move on with that. I thought that was great and really showing Eugene's bit with, yes, I'm Eugene, you're Dwight, we're both Negan. We're moving on. He knows his position right there, and he doesn't really know, there's no reason for him to trust Dwight at all. But the fact that these two are kind of up together, one, I think it's putting their little past behind them, but in some ways maybe getting to set a little bit of a link for something going forward. So I think that pretty much covers everything. Again, it was a really straightforward episode this week. Just, it was nice getting the bit of comic relief from Eugene, all of his words, his conversation about the food in the beginning. You can get anything and he doesn't believe it, and then the first thing he asks for is lobster. he is worried that people don't have access to mental health services. I mean, it was nice getting that little bit of levity that Eugene can provide while still really staying in the midst of the moment, knowing how terrifying and how dangerous every moment of every day is. I love just getting those two levels throughout this episode. So pretty much just extra stuff. Anything that Eugene said this episode was awesome. So that's going to, I think, wrap things up for this week. So if you did enjoy this review, please hit that like button. Thoughts, ideas, comments, throw those down in the comment section below. You enjoying how this season is playing out? How dedicated do you think Eugene is? And is he and Dwight going to be able to find some way to work together to either escape or perhaps when Rick and the rest of the army's attack, give them a little bit of help from the inside? We'll have to sort of wait and see. But anyway, any of those thoughts, ideas, and comments, throw those down right there in the section below. Now, you can always catch me on Twitter and Instagram. I'm at Darren Jakes. Now, we also do reviews, of course, of Black Sails, of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which is on break until the beginning of April, but we are also still in the midst of Legion. Both of those are going to be running up through the end of March. So, if you enjoy those shows and you haven't checked things out, go ahead and check out the playlist, but you won't miss anything if you subscribe, and you can do that by hitting my face right there. And then I will throw up our latest review for Legion right over here. You can check that out. Excellent show. Anyway, so I'm going to say goodbye. So I'm D, and I'm out of here. I'll catch you guys next time. Bye-bye.